Nick Stevens, managing editor, high school OT, but outgoing. So put the microphone up to your face.
Is it not?
Well, it was
Okay.
too low.
All right.
It's too low.
Make sure people can hear me.
Exactly. So can we do emeritus? What is it?
I don't think anybody wants that.
I think for emeritus, you got to be much older. You are still a very young man. Since I don't know if it's fair or if it's it might not even be enough to say that you were the creative juice behind what is now high school OT, and without heaping unnecessary praise on you, Nick Stevens, there's a lot of attention being paid to high school sports, not only in the Triangle but across the state, and you have really helped take it to another level. So on behalf of whoever it is on behalf of, well done for all that you have put into this and have gotten out of it. Now, where are we with high school sports in the state of North Carolina? That is probably as open-ended and, fertile a question as you're going to get asked about it. But where are we?
It's a different world in high school sports, not just in North Carolina, but just in general.
Right.
Things things change in sports generally, they eventually trickle down to the high school level. That's
Sure.
how it always works. And we have NIL in high school now.
It's amazing.
And by the way, high school sports have not died because of NIL yet.
No way.
It's pretty amazing, right?
Right.
We have NIL in high school. You see the transfer portal stuff in college, the number of transfers in high school sports increasing every year, it feels like. We don't have a portal in high school.
Right.
But there's a lot of kids moving around every year.
Because the school year has to end. And the school year is a year, right?
Well, there's some transfers that happen in the middle of the school year as well. And, that's one of the things that a lot of coaches and ADs would like to see addressed at some point. Kids moving around from school to school. Like in Georgia, they just passed a new policy down there that is very restrictive on transfers. And so I think you're going to see that issue bubble up some more. Obviously, the thing here in North Carolina specifically, things have really changed in the last few years in terms of how the NCHSAA can administer athletics. The state legislature much more involved,
Right?
Or giving that to the state board of education and the state superintendent. So that's kind of adjusted some things. That there's some uncertainty about where things go in the future with that, especially financially. NCHSAA has been operating in the red for multiple years in a row now. So that's something to watch. But I do think we get really obsessed sometimes with all the things that are wrong or could go wrong,
right.
Or, and I think that's just human nature, but there's a lot of really good things happening in high school sports. And that's what I enjoy so much about them is no matter where you look, you can find something good.
Right.
And I think that that's an important part of this because yes, we play high school sports. We want kids to be able to go play on scholarship in college or make it to the Olympics or whatever. Most kids are not going to do
right.
that. And if that is all we're getting out of high school sports, we are failing. And there's so much more that happens in high school athletics and, the relationships people build, the things that kids learn that they're going to take with them when they go do jobs in the real world. There's so much more that comes along with high school sports than the NIL money or winning a scholarship to go play college sports. And that's the part that I think sometimes we lose track of.
Nick Stevens in studio with us after today will no longer be the managing editor of High School OT.
I think this is my last assignment right here.
This is it?
This is it.
So at 12:40, it truly is, high school sports truly is an extracurricular activity.
Yeah.
As opposed to in college, some of it is, but most of it is job pursuit and things like that, money-making endeavors for the universities and the players. But it truly is at the high school level. It really is extracurricular. Happens after school.
Yep.
And we have school, then we go to practice, as opposed to what happens a lot in colleges. I am curious. Are you in favor? I think I know the answer to this, but Because I know what I think.
Yes, I think the Canes should get Mitch Marner.
No. Are you in favor of what has happened over the last year, where the state legislature has usurped the authority of the North Carolina's High School Athletic Association and is stepping in to run it? The way I look at it is that, and this might be a political statement or not, I don't care. I don't think that as a body they seem to be all that interested in public education. So why are they interested in the sports played by public schools?
I think that, and I'm going to be careful how I say this because
I wasn't very careful. I apologize.
When we cover a story like that, like we have to be able to step outside of the story to cover it. Not necessarily like this side says this side says that. Like we should be covering what's true. Right. But I try to keep my opinion out of it. That being said, I think that's whole situation. I think there were things that the NCHSA could have done that may have mitigated some of that.
Sure.
The transparency stuff, like you start talking about tens of millions of dollars, people are going to be like, without, and it's so detailed that you don't know all the ins and outs of it, and it's hard to. So like, I don't know that I think there's a place for the state government to play a role. Like having oversight, having transparency, making sure things are done well. And the fact that the NCHSA has an endowment fund like it does or did, I think is evidence that they are running things well.
Right.
They're financially secure. I do think that it may have overstepped some. I think that limiting the NCHSA, like you can't have sponsorships, for example. I mean, that's absurd.
Yeah.
That's how they make their money. There's a lot of things I think that the state government has stepped over a line where those decisions would have been made best by people who are working at the school level, who are on that board of directors, who's made up of people who work at the school level,
right.
And the NCHSA. They know all of that stuff, and I think that there's still room for that to get worked out in the future and maybe revisited, but we'll see.
Nick Stevens, managing editor until like 7 minutes from now, highschoolot.com. There's a lot of room in between what the General Assembly has done and essentially streamlining or improving the way the North Carolina High School Athletic Association does business, rather than essentially neutering them to a certain extent. Where else? What does the NCHSAA? What do they do best?
They do a lot of things really well. I mean, number one, the state championship experience that you get in North Carolina is amazing.
Right.
And I'm not talking about
sounds like the NCAA. They do a good job of putting on championships.
It's not just football either.
Right.
Like, there are some outstanding venues that they play. Some of the non-revenue, I hate that term, but non-revenue sports that they play those state championships in.
Soccer was played at a good
down in Matthews, the Mecklenburg County Sportsplex. That's they have a lot of great venues. They do a good job with that. They make it a really good experience for the kids. The Final Four in basketball that they started last year has been a really big hit. Playing all those games at one location, it's really upped the level, I think, for high school basketball in North Carolina. But they do a lot of other things too. They have a student services program, or had. I'm not sure if that's still in existence now with the state legislature, but they do stuff with like teaching kids leadership skills and doing like retreats with them. And they've done things in the past like making sure every single school has a working AED in the school. Stuff that helps make high school sports better and safer for them. So they do a lot of really good stuff. Now anytime you're a governing body of anything, you're going to catch a lot of arrows.
Sure.
And there's things that, I don't necessarily agree with that they do, but that's just how it is.
Do we have too many divisions?
Right now, 4A?
No, because we're...
With 8A?
Yeah.
I would have gone to 6 classifications. I think 8's too many. I think 4's not enough. I would have gone to 6, but they've gone to 8, and we'll see how it works. There's some I won't say there's buyer's remorse yet, but there are some people who are like, ugh, what do we, maybe we shouldn't have done this. I think it's hard to say until we see how it plays out. And I wouldn't be surprised if in 2 or 4 years we see some proposals come forward that make some changes.
Have they done a good enough job dealing with the growing number of charters?
That's such a tough thing.
No, I agree. And I know they're a lightning rod.
Yeah.
Because I know I get complaints about it all the time, and I've made jokes about it. But schools like Cardinal Gibbons, right, that are privates.
Yep.
Have they done a good enough job as in terms of properly placing them where they belong in whatever classification they're in?
I think it's important for people here to know this is an issue in every single state.
No question.
Everybody is trying to deal with right now.
I grew up in New Jersey, and some of the best, football playing schools were Catholic schools.
Right. And nobody has figured out the right way to fix it. I think right now their hands are tied based on what the schools have passed in terms of the new bylaw for the 8 classifications. They can only use their enrollment numbers for that, so they can't really do anything. I think that their hands are kind of tied right now. This is not anything I've heard from the NCHSAA, but this is just me, analyzing this.
Right.
You talk about charter schools. Well, there's a lot of support in the legislature for charter schools. So if the NCHSAA went in and was like, all right, charter schools, we're going to put you in your own division.
Right.
Is that going to solicit a reaction from the state legislature that just took a lot of action against the NCHSAA in recent years? So, I feel like their hands are kind of tied in that. And I do think that there's like some multipliers you could do to move some people up in classifications based on whether or not they're a charter or a private school or whatever. But I don't think there's a perfect answer that's just going to make everybody happy.
Should we have promotion and relegation? I don't. Never mind. You don't have to answer that question. Nick Stevens, highschoolot.com, the man behind it. All right. Can high school sports, and I think you're moving into this realm, how can high school sports kind of tap into the marketplace more than they do? Should they?
Yeah, they should.
Okay.
The thing is like funding for public schools is shrinking, right?
That's largely my argument against why the legislature should step away from this.
Right. And so funding is harder. Everything costs more.
Yeah.
People are not putting money into athletics because they're like, well, we're losing money for textbooks. Why would we put money into sports? Now, I would argue that high school athletics are the number one dropout prevention program that exists.
True.
And we should be investing more in them. So schools are going to have to take their own products and figure out how to monetize them to keep high school sports, solvent. And that's something I'll be working on in my new position. I'm excited about that. But they should be doing that because they own those things. They own their games, they own the teams on the field, they own all of that stuff. And the number of people in the media who are covering high school sports continues to decline. You're going to have to go make your own.
It declines?
Oh, yeah. Local media is not investing in high school sports. Capital Broadcasting is an anomaly in that, a big-time anomaly in that. It's just there's not as many people covering high school sports now. So if you want to get attention for your teams and bring people in to put butts in seats, you need to be able to do that.
This is gonna sound like, how could you possibly ask this question now? Because I was going to ask it, and the last thing we do in terms of seriousness, is there appetite for like a high school sports network, like whether it's radio or like cable or YouTube, to have like games of the week?
So there is an NFHS network that the NFHS has where they live stream. Almost every school in the state uses it. Okay. And so they live stream there, and there's a small monthly fee you pay. You can watch all the games you want to.
Really? Never mind that.
Yeah. So that exists, and schools are making money off of that. That plays a role in what I'll be doing next.
There you go. So. All right. Mitch Marner? Is that who you want? Who do you want?
I want everybody.
We got like almost $30 million to spend. Eric Robinson
was a good extension.
4 years, $1.7 million a year. Who do you want?
I believe that Mitch Marner is the one I'm picking.
Okay.
I think you disagree with that, though, don't you?
Well, he's not really what they need. Pass first.
Yeah.
Wingers.
I get that.
He's a great defender. He profiles as a Hurricane, by the way.
Yeah, he does.
He 100% profiles as a Hurricane, but it would be at the expense of somebody like him. That's what I would.
I mean, I don't ever know what I read on Twitter is true or not,
Sure.
or X, but like there's a lot of talk about Ekblad.
Yeah.
I think that would be a good one to get.
Well, if Ekblad leaves Florida, he'd be the priority for me.
Yeah,
in
I
free
think he'd
agency.
be a great one.
Oh, it'd be tremendous.
Mm-hmm.
You'd pair him with Jacob Slavin, you'd be done for the next 8 years.
Yeah,
you would be.
Yeah.
Actually, it would be 7 because he can only sign a 7-year deal with Carolina. But
and they need somebody in that position. So I would love that too.
All right, Aaron Ekblad and Mitch Marner.
$30 million, they could get both.
And get something else.
Yeah,
because I don't think Ekblad will cost you 10. Marner probably cost you 14. But yeah.
We
got plenty of money to spend.
I know it's a good feeling compared to last offseason.
You might still be able to get Marchand in there too.
Well, the rumor was that they were trying right at the deadline.
I don't know if they were trying. They should have.
Okay.
I was pushing should.
Like I said, I don't ever know if what I read on Twitter is true.
Don't ever read Twitter. Nick Stevens, first of all, congratulations on what you have created, and good luck moving forward.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming in.